This is a Nice Guys Patreon exclusive.
Welcome to another edition of the Ice Guys Players Suite. It's Ian Cameron, and we have another great guest joining us. NHL for many years with the Buffalo Sabres, now been playing over in Europe and still in Europe as a pro hockey player, currently getting ready for the start of another season. Happy to have Luke Adam joining us on this edition of the Ice Guys Players Suite. Luke, thanks for joining us. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. An avid sports bettor, too, which we will get to later on in the show, which always makes me happy. But first, let's start with the hockey background, Luke, and how you got into it and the beginnings of Luke Adams' hockey career.
Yeah, I grew up in St. John's, Newfoundland. My dad is from Windsor, Ontario, so his whole family grew up in Windsor. My grandparents grew up there, and he was born there. He played for the Kitchener Rangers in the OHL. Long story short, he finished his career in Newfoundland. So he was coming for a couple weeks, ended up, he still lives there 35, 40 years later. So he met my mom. My mom's a Newfoundlander. So that's where I grew up in St. John's and played all my minor hockey there. And my first 2 years of junior, I was lucky enough to play at home too. And then unfortunately the team got sold and I had to go with them. But yeah, so I grew up, did all my hockey in Newfoundland.
All right, so I got to ask you, and then we'll put it in betting terms. Over under the number of nights you had some drunken moments on George Street growing up.
Yeah, quite a few, from about 19 to 25, 26, but I'm getting a little too old now. You don't feel so good the next day. So they're getting less and less. I got a little guy now too. So, life's changing a little bit, but George Street is still definitely a place I'd like to visit in the summers when I'm back.
There's no doubt. I haven't been to Newfoundland. I was there just the one time, and it was about 15, 20 years ago. And yeah, wonderful George Street downtown area there, bars galore, great food out there, great seafood, of course, known for in Newfoundland. The cod tongues, you got to try those out when you're in St. John's. I was a big fan of those. I'm a big fish guy anyway, so I'll enjoy any seafood as long as it's done well and it's hard to screw it up. To be honest, I'm going to enjoy it. That's for sure. But yeah, great place, beautiful scenery, obviously out there as well. Junior hockey. Talk about getting into junior hockey, and was it at that time that you noticed, hey, I'm really developing into someone that's going to be a pretty decent player down the road? Is that really where you saw your development accelerate, the junior level?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, I grew up playing minor hockey in Newfoundland. My dad was an ex-player, so I wasn't ever really forced into playing, or he was always there for help. But it's almost opposite of how kids are now. Like I'd never played summer hockey ever. He took my gear in May, put it in the attic, and I got it back the end of August, and I was throwing my baseball glove. So I was a big baseball player in the summer. Still love baseball. Still love playing some slow pitch with my buddies and stuff in the summer. But yeah, so. But I guess midget hockey, to answer your question, was probably right when I kind of figured out, like this is, I played a 15-year-old year at home. We had a really good team, actually. We ended up going to the TELUS Cup, which is the midget national championship. So we represented Atlantic Canada. We won the Atlantics, and I was a 15-year-old that year and got drafted to my hometown team in junior. In the first round. So that was kind of when hockey kind of became more of a job for sure when you get to the major junior level.
The one season you had St. John's Fog Devils. That's how long we're going back here.
Yeah.
With when you were in the Quebec Major Junior League. 36 goals, 30 assists, 66 points in 70 games that year. And of course, you were obviously center, your natural. Is that still your position to this day, center?
Yeah, I'm playing center now. I've played center the last 3-4 years here in Europe. Just started off as a center, obviously all a junior, and then in pro. I think the lockout year, which would have been my third year pro, is I kind of switched to the wing a bit. Played wing a little bit then for a few years, a couple of years in Europe. But, I'm comfortable on the wing now too. It's I think I'm grateful that I got to learn that position too. It's always beneficial, especially, when you're looking for jobs and stuff like that. A team knows that you can play center and wing and kind of versatile, and that's it. as a as a player, so that helps. But definitely more comfortable in the middle.
There's no doubt. You got to participate with the World Junior Hockey Championship as well, which is basically a religion here in Canada, as it is every year at Christmas time along the holiday season. How fun, how fucking awesome was it to be part of that? I got to admit, there's not a lot of people we've talked to on this show, Luke. We've had a lot of guests. Many of them played for a World Junior Hockey Championship team, many of them Canadian, obviously, and they said still one of the best experiences they've ever had.
So true. So true. I look back and there's few moments in my career that, there's, obviously your first NHL game, first NHL goal, I won a championship here in Europe, and World Juniors is, those are the top things off the top of my head. And, every year when it comes on, it doesn't seem like it was, I guess 15 years ago now. So, it doesn't seem like that. So it seems like just around the corner, and it was obviously being in Canada too. It was unbelievable. Losing in the gold medal game will still haunt me a little bit, but it was a great tournament. It was a lot of fun. I met a lot of good friends. It's funny too when you play on teams like that. You don't really know guys too well, but you're with them for about 6 weeks. You get to know them, and you still. Keep in touch. You might not talk to a guy for a few years. You see him and you hit it off right away. It's you might not talk to a guy and you get a text message, or you send a text and it's just like your good buddies. So it's memories and something you'll never forget.
Well, you talk about how you came up short that year in terms of winning the gold medal, but I think people have to realize, and I try to hammer this point home on this show throughout the year when we're doing the season. It's not just going to be Canada steps on the ice anymore and wins these international tournaments. Doesn't work that way. Finland's getting better. They've had a huge growth in their hockey program and developing players. It used to be a goalie factory. They're not just a goalie factory anymore. They're developing forwards. They're developing defensemen and really high-level defensemen, elite-level players in those positions. You see, obviously, Sweden, Russia, Czechia, all of these countries are forces, the U.S., of course. But let's not sleep on some of these other burgeoning countries. Suddenly, Latvia is starting to get a lot better. Germany, you're seeing the development in their hockey program. Even Norway, as well. Switzerland. And the list goes on. Denmark. Let's not sleep on Denmark. Denmark's made significant strides. I mean, there's a lot of countries that are really making improvements. More kids are playing hockey. It's great for the game, but from a Canadian standpoint, it also means it's not as easy anymore to just win these things and assume you're going to be winning them all the time.
Yeah, no kidding. It's definitely a battle. I mean, to get to the, you've seen it. Like they were kind of on a run there before my season. I think Canada had won 4 or 5 in a row, maybe. And then that's when the expectations start coming. When you see them win a couple in a row, like I think they've won the last 2 years, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. So, this year you're going to see like, oh, they should win. But like you said, there's so many. I mean, the Americans are amazing every year, the Swedes, and Russia hasn't even played the last couple of years. So like, those are great players too that aren't even given the opportunity because obviously world circumstances, what's going on. But it's hockey has developed so much across the whole world, and being in Germany for the last 6.5 seasons, I got to see that country develop and win a silver at the Olympics, and then silver last year at the World Championships without arguably their 2 best players from the whole country, and Stützle and Draisaitl didn't play. Yeah, I know you're going to say yeah, but top 10 didn't play from Canada, but still, like a country like Germany to miss their top 2 players is a big loss, and for them still to finish second is great.
It's great. That tells you that there's something on. They're on the come, as they say. They're on the rise. You're seeing that, I think, with Germany. Before we go off the World Junior topic, just playing, I should say, for you with some of these, and these guys are still going and strong in the NHL ranks. A lot of them: Braden Shen, Nazem Kadri, Jordan Eberle, Alex Pietrangelo, just won, of course, a Stanley Cup with Vegas. Taylor Hall, who's now going to get the privilege of playing with Connor Bedard with the Chicago Blackhawks, probably playing on the top line as well with Connor Bedard in Chicago. Playing with some of those guys and calling them teammates with that Canadian junior team must have been cool.
Yeah, I mean, those are all great players. Like I said, there's and all those guys you might not keep in touch with, but if I ran into them in the street, we'd have a great conversation. We'd sit down and have a beer, have a chat. And, I haven't talked to Jordan Eberle in a couple years, and last year in the playoffs, so obviously when they won the second round there and they were going to the conference finals, I just sent him a text, wishing him luck, and, I was cheering for him, and, we just hit it off. We chatted for a few minutes, and like we had talked all the time. But, it's funny, hockey's such a small world, and, guys that know guys, and, oh, you played with him, he said this about you, he said that about you. So, it's a small world, so it's good to have a good reputation and a close-knit circle. And those are always fun guys to keep up on. And, I'm proud that I was able to be teammates with those guys for sure.
And of course, after the junior days, drafted by my beloved Buffalo Sabres, second round, you end up 90 games in the National Hockey League for the Buffalo Sabres. And, the timing was just kind of shitty because the Sabres were just in that period where, they were coming off those glory years in the 2000s where they went to the conference finals 2 years ago, those great Jason Pominville, Danny Briere, Chris Drury, Buffalo Sabres teams, Ryan Miller, of course. And they just had some spectacular seasons, and they were kind of in transition. And that's where, we talk about the long playoff drought that my Sabres have been on. That's when it started, right around the time you were drafted and started with the team. But when you look at it, you'll probably never take back that experience playing for the Buffalo Sabres, playing 90 games in the National Hockey League for anything. Tell us about how cool it was to be an NHLer, even if it was for just a handful of seasons and 90 games.
Yeah, it was amazing. My career started so well there in Buffalo. Obviously, played my first year mostly in Portland. I think 18 or 19 games in the National League that year as a 20-year-old. Had a really good year in the minors. Was lucky enough to play with good players there. Had a great season, and then the next year made the team out of camp, and I was playing with Van and Palmer, and kind of started the year so well. Roisey was hurt there at the start of the year, kind of helped me out, but he came back, and we still kind of played together. And they just signed Ville Leno that summer too to that big deal, so he was trying to find a place to fit in. And when I look back on it, I don't have regrets. I mean, I think I got a lot given to me at such a young age that almost took it for granted. Had I had my time back, I probably would have tried to adapt in my game a little bit more quicker rather than wanting to be on the first line, trying to fit in on that fourth line. And because, I had success playing, when I was playing with those guys on the first line, and then kind of got bounced around for other reasons. And whatever it may be, guys needed to play more, or whatever, big contracts needed to play. And I didn't really adapt my game. So, and then the next year was a lockout, obviously. So that didn't help, the whole year in the lockout year. And they played at the second half of the year. But it's memories I'll always have. I loved my time there. I loved being a Sabre. The fan base there is amazing. I remember black acing my first season. Well, it would have been I ended up going to Portland after my last year junior to play in the playoffs there. And that was the last year. They made the playoffs the next year, so they haven't made it since. So I'm pulling for them. I mean, I said to you before we got on the show, I think they're in the right direction. And I'm hoping they make it this year, even in that tough division. So I'm still a Sabres fan and grateful for the opportunity I was given, and my time there was awesome.
Yeah, and you still got to play with a handful of the players that were there for those runs to the conference finals in 06, 07 with the Sabres. Thomas Vanek was still there. Jason Pominville was still there on those Sabres teams. So a couple of the guys were still definitely part of the teams that you were with in those early 2010, 2011, 12 years, with Derek Roy, of course, as well. So, definitely it was, like I say, a bit of a transition, but still a very interesting time it was. I believe, I'm trying to remember, Lindy was still there, I know, when you got there to Buffalo. And, of course, it was a good run for him. What was it like playing for Lindy Ruff? Of course, now coaching New Jersey.
Yeah, he's I think he's probably developed quite a bit. I mean, you've seen I've heard some other interviews from guys too. You know, it's fun to listen. You know, I heard an interview with Van probably at the end of last year, and he just said, I'm sure Lindy has developed his coaching style quite a bit from when he coached Van as a rookie and whatever that would have been, 2005, 2006. I mean, the players have changed. I mean, I've seen it in fast motion since I've been playing pro. You know, just the younger generation is a little bit different, and the older generation is different towards them. So, the coaching staff, everything, society, whatever it may be, everything's a little different. But you know, it was good. He was he's obviously a super knowledgeable coach. He was definitely hard on me, but like I said, I was a young kid that didn't really know the difference. And when I look back on it, he was just trying to help me, I'm sure. So it's good to see old teammates, old coaches, whoever go places have success. And you know, it's that he's in a good situation there in New Jersey. That's another team that you know, they look like they're on the up and up.
Yeah, and then of course that was that time when we were running the gamut basically of coaches after Lindy. We had Ron Ralston for a bit. We had Ted Nolan came back for another tour of duty with the Buffalo Sabres after he was with us in the 90s. And then of course we had Ralph Kruger, and that didn't go well. But I think we finally found someone though here in Don Granato right now that probably will be here for a long time. He's connected well with the players. There's no question about that. And I've got high hopes for, and we'll get into this current iteration of the Buffalo Sabres later when we talk NHL, but definitely they're on the upward trajectory, and I've got good expectations. Let's put it that way, Luke, for what they might be able to do this season. Turn this ship around, or if you've known the way they've played for the last decade, turn this shit around.
Yeah,
whatever you want to call it. Yeah,
Stay positive.
I am. I'm eternally optimistic when it comes to the Sabres for sure. All right, so this is that time of the show, and the guests never have any idea we're doing this when we do it, but we always go into the highlight reel, the vault, for our player guests, and we show a little highlight from their playing days. And we've got actually a couple here from Luke Adam from his time, and I obviously purposely, Luke, picked a couple Buffalo Sabres highlights involving you. When you were playing there. So I found a couple. I think one of them was a Traverse City tournament that you were involved in with the team. Mm-hmm. And the other was a game against the rival Toronto Maple Leafs. So here are a couple highlights, Luke Adams' handiwork, if you will, from his time with my Sabres. Here we go. Look at that one timer there. I'm going to have to rewind it because it started. It was so quick. Here we go. Watch it one more time. Look at this one. Look at that one timer.
That's a good pass right there. That's it. Boy's not even there. Boise, nice pass.
It was a really nice pass. You're right. And that's what was so great about him. He could just see things unfolding before anybody else could. And you know, he was able to make those incredible tape-to-tape passes. Certainly did that right there. Basically, the equivalent, the golf analogy, put it on a tee for you. Right there. And all you had to do is make sure you hit that that net, and all things were good. And here it is, the other highlight we got from Luke Adam at Traverse City.
For the last number of years, Nick Trombo was probably ready for bigger responsibility, but when you had Rafalski and Lidstrom here, they obviously got the minutes, the key minutes on the power play, 4-on-4. Cronwell's probably going to play more minutes. He's 30 years of age. He's ready for a bigger role.
Now there's the first goal of the game.
Now,
right
wasn't
there.
it Joe
He's the kid that we
Micheletti, you know, shining your shoes
and
here?
There's that shot. That's why he is their number one prospect at the forward position as far as moving in. Boy, he let that go. It's just a dump in. And we talked about Buffalo right from the start. They've done a nice job of forechecking. And who's the first man in? It's Adam, able to control the puck. We talked about his good hands. There it is there, bouncing, rolling puck, and there it is. Wow, what a shot. 1-0 Buffalo.
Look at that. High praise from Joe Micheletti. This has got to feel good, sound good.
Yeah, that was, you know what, that tournament was a lot of fun. I got to play with Cass and Foligno, Marcus and Zach. We had a great team. We ended up winning. I think that was in the championship game there. Played the Rangers, and that was I think that helped me quite a bit, actually, that tournament. That was that would have been right after my first year pro, so I'd played a year. I'd already played like I said, the year before, I played those 19 games, and then that kind of got me ready. And then that year because camp was short that year because we ended up we started overseas. So that tournament was awesome. Had a lot of fun there, and that was definitely a big stepping stone, I think, for me in my career. So something, those little things that you don't really forget that definitely helped out a lot.
Yeah, no doubt. Absolutely. And again, everything that you learn and how to craft your game and improve your game, you take those things always to your next destination. After Buffalo, of course, you were in the AHL for a couple of seasons. And then I'm sure, because look, we've had so many players from different eras, people that played their whole lives in the NHL, people that were like you, they started in the NHL, little in the minor leagues, and then eventually went to Europe. I can't count. I've lost count, Luke, how many players have been in your situation where they start in the NHL, now they're playing in Europe. And there's always a crossroads at some point where it's like, okay, if I stay in North America, what exactly can I expect in terms of my role, the minutes I get on the ice, the how much impact can I make on the team? How much money, is there out there for me if I stay in North America versus I go to Europe and maybe I'm going to have a bigger role, get more minutes, be more of a featured player playing overseas. And obviously for you, prior to the 2016-2017 season, that was where you were in your crossroads that we've had, that so many of our player guests that we've had in the past have had these similar decisions. Do I stay here in North America? Do I go to Europe? You obviously decided to go to Europe. And I'll also say this, Luke, about every player we've talked to that's played in Europe. Nobody has said anything bad about the experience of playing in Europe and how much fun they had and the enjoyable experience and getting more opportunity and the lifestyle and the scenery and just being over there in that kind of a European environment, seeing a different, part of the world. Everyone's spoken really glowingly with rave reviews about playing over in Europe. And you made that decision, obviously, in 2016 and 2017 and went to Germany. Zweiten Sie Deutsch. That's my fake German voice right there. But how was that decision to go to Germany and playing over there for so many years?
Yeah, it was a big decision, that's for sure. I mean, my last year back home, I played with the Rangers organization. I played the whole season in Hartford. It was one of those weird years. I was actually signed there. I was pretty excited. I thought I was in a good situation. As a depth guy, I think I was like the second last cut in camp. So I was kind of like that 14, 15 forward. Just, one or two injuries away, which is almost guaranteed to play, right? So like when I signed, I thought it was a good situation. Had a great training camp with them, and then I think we had two guys get called up all season. So like they had one of those seasons, no injuries. They were super healthy up front. Just didn't go exactly how I wanted. And then that summer, I still wasn't sold on leaving for Europe. Ended up going to camp in Calgary on a PTO. Ended up going to Stockton, wanted to sign me on an American League deal. But I didn't want to play in the American League without the opportunity of playing NHL, especially at, I would have been 26 or 27 that year.
And I get where you're coming from. You're not some 34, 35-year-old fogey at the end of his career and not getting that opportunity to get back to the show, get back to the NHL. You're still in your 20s. You feel, fuck, I've got something to give, something to offer.
Yeah, for sure. And I still thought I could play. I still thought I could get there. So when that didn't happen, then kind of transformed. Ended up signing late. I went to camp, like I said, in Calgary to Stockton. Left there and sat at home for about a week, and then just kind of fielded options from Europe. I had a couple options in Russia, but I just thought it was I wasn't too sold on the whole KHL experience at that time, and ended up going to Germany to Mannheim, and I don't have any regrets of that. It was awesome. Ended up playing there for about 2 months, and then I signed a 2-year extension right away, and I loved it there so much. I ended up winning a championship there in my third year. New ownership or a new GM came in, new coaches. We won the championship, and they completely cleaned house, which is kind of you see it a little bit in Europe. They bring in their own guys a little bit, and I ended up leaving, signing in Dusseldorf, and then COVID happened. So I had a 3-year deal there, and that turned into turned into me playing on 4 teams during COVID because just the league and the finances and all that kind of stuff kind of bouncing around. But I love Germany. Germany was a great league. You're allowed to have 9 imports there, play every night. The caliber has gotten great, and I think that's really helped German hockey in general. You see it like when the NHL guys didn't go to the Olympics, Germany finished second. The World Championships, like we talked about earlier, Germany finished second. I think that's because the German players in the league are playing at such a high caliber now, bringing in the 9 imports every night, and it's making the German guys better, and it's making them have to work harder to be in the lineup and play more. And I've played with so many great Germans, so I'm happy when I see them do well. But I really enjoyed my experience there, and obviously this year making the switch over to Czech. But it's that's going to be a new experience as well.
Now that was Adler Mannheim where you had the championship season over in Germany. I got to admit what the benders and the parties were like after that over there.
Yeah, that was wild. I mean, we won in game 5. We had such a great team that year. I think we lost 1 playoff game the whole year, set the record for points in a season. There was no doubt, unless we did something historically wrong, that we were going to win the championship. We were just such a
Are you listening, Boston Bruins of 2022-23? You want to see how it's fucking done? How you win a championship after a historic regular season? Take a listen to this and that Mannheim team and our guy Luke Adam there.
Yeah, it happens, but we just had a great team. It was so fun. We ended up winning in game 5 at overtime at home. And the party was on then for sure. It's just the fans were in the rink the whole night. We were drinking beers on the ice. Fans were throwing beers on the ice over the glass. Like, it was incredible party. We ended up leaving the dressing room, I think, at 5 a.m. to go to the nightclub and walking out of there at 9 in the morning. That was one of my best memories I've ever had, winning a championship, especially over there. Fans are crazy. They're just like soccer. You see it on TV. You see the soccer fans. They stand the entire game, half the arena. In Mannheim, there's probably 4,000 seats that are just standing, and they just stand with flags and chant the whole game. So they're super passionate fans in Germany. And to win a championship there was amazing.
Yeah, amazing. And you're right. Unlike the Boston Bruins, as I have said, you were a great regular season team, and you finished the job. You won the championship. You didn't gag it away in the first round, and we're up 3-1 and lost. That's a big difference at the end of the day. But now a great season. I'm seeing the record. It's just unbelievable how good a season that was for you. So you were there for a bit. You went to Dusseldorf, as you mentioned, Nuremberg. The Roosters, they come to snuff the Rooster, Iserlohn Roosters, Straubing Tigers. Was where you were last season. Funny story too. Just started talking to Luke last season. I think when it was last season when he was playing for Germany. No shit that this actually happened. Apparently his team's on this bus trying to get to the next game or something, and it was on a Sunday. And he's actually asking me, what's a good bet for these late NFL games, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific? I need to get something in here for these late games. So I don't know. I can't remember how the bets ended up working out for you, Luke, but there you are asking me, what can I get in here for these NFL games, these late games, as we make this trip to our next game?
Yeah, that's the best. That's after the bus. So the way in Germany, when you think about it, so we're 6 hours ahead. So they start around 7. So if you play the primetime Sunday game is on the road at around 2 or 4, and then you get on the bus and football is just starting. And then if you got 4 or 5 hours home, I mean, all the teams I played on, we got a good setup. We got a big TV hung up. We get the red zone going. So it's always fun to get in some NFL bets. We got the fantasy leagues going and stuff like that, but it's also fun to get some bets in with the guys and, enjoy, because we always play Friday, Sunday. So then you're off on Monday. So enjoy the night on the bus and makes the time go a lot faster. I'll tell you, sometimes those bus rides get long.
Yeah, no question. And of course, you're a big sports fan like me. That's how I got into sports betting and doing, sports content on YouTube and all this. I'm just a huge sports fan my whole life, hockey and football especially, but basketball a little bit, baseball, UFC. as well. Golf. I've really gotten into betting golf the
Yeah.
last few years, and I've got good sources with that. And it's just fun. It's just there's a rush when you're sitting there with a 150 to 1 longer shot golfer to win a tournament, and he's in the mix in the final round on a Sunday, and you're just captivated and glued to the television, and just you think you're on the verge of maybe hitting the lottery or something.
I know. Yeah, golf's fun. I've been getting into a lot of these like golf pools where it'll be 6 groups or 12 groups, and you pick one guy from each group, and it's a small entry, but the pot can get big when you get so many guys entered in. So those are a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's great. We've had a lot of guests too that are definitely we've had a lot of people interested in the betting side of things, including you, but on the show in the past, Jay Rosehill is now. We've had so many. Brett McLean played in the NHL and pro ranks. His career was cut short a little bit. I've personally taken Eddie Lack under my wing. He's basically been asking me for learning from me, if you will. And he's like, he actually said that last season, you're at the point you've proven so much that I won't make a bet now unless I get your thought on it. So
yeah, that's good. He's my realtor, so I have to tell him that he's from Arizona. He's down in Arizona, so me and him actually hooked up this summer.
Oh, really? No shit. Yeah.
Yeah. So we did a couple of lunches, looked at some houses. I was thinking about moving. He's a great guy. It's I didn't really know him, just kind of through the hockey world. Reached out to him, and we still kind of keep in touch. So he's a good man.
Yeah, he's a friend of the show because he's been on a bunch of times, multiple times here on the Ice Guys. And you're right. He's just he's always asking, "Oh, what do you think of this?" And NBA, I know the playoffs, NHL, he's a big football guy too. So it's that time of year. We haven't talked actually in a couple months because it's summer and he's busy as shit. He's going nuts with how busy he's traveling here and there. He drives everywhere to all these places and all these showings in Arizona. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? You're making good money. Is there nothing you can't do better than having to drive yourself to all these places?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he's doing well down there. It's it's such a beautiful place to live, man. He's doing good. So it's always nice to see ex-players, in life after hockey type of thing. And they're still hockey guys. We out on the golf course, and he's, still like you're playing with one of the boys. So it's nice.
Yeah, great guy. A little quirky at times, but a little odd duck at times.
Right?
He's our odd duck. That's the way. He's our odd duck. That's the way you got to look at it. We wouldn't have it any other way. No question about that. So talk about, and then we'll get off the loop. Adam tangent. We'll talk some NHL, some NFL football in just a bit, but we will wrap it up on your journey, through your hockey career with what's on the horizon, because you are about to embark on a change from all these years in Germany playing now to Czechia and you're taking a trip to the pharmacy here. Make sure you take your Pilsen here with Czechia. You're going to play there. Tell us how that opportunity came about.
Yeah, it's a big change, that's for sure. The Czech League is it's always been talked about, and it's such a respected league in Europe throughout the different leagues, and it's always been a place that has been interested. I've been interested in. I've had some interest over the years, and it's kind of, like I said, the last few years I kind of bounced around in Germany. I was kind of hoping to go back to the team I was with last year in Straubing, and kind of waiting on them, and they decided to just go in like a younger direction, signed a bunch of younger players just from the American League rather than bring back the older guys that we had. Which was surprising to most. I mean, we had 100 points, finished 1 point out of third, had a good year. But that's the business side of hockey. We've all seen that in different places. But yeah, then this option kind of came up in Pilsen, and it's been a transition. It's been different. The league's different. It's I would consider it a faster, tighter, more physical league than the German league. But I haven't seen a lot of it yet either. So I just see practices, and we've played some exhibition games. There's just, the guys they're big and strong here, like you see in the international game how they play, and there's not much time and space. And little bit more defensive minded maybe than the German league but I think the German league's a lot like North America. Like I said, we get 9 North Americans, 9 imports, mostly all North American. Then you're looking kind of at like a older American league, experienced American league type situation. So, but no, it's been good. It's been different. The little things like everything's ran in Czech, so I need translator, and coach in Czech, videos in Czech. Everything's kind of it's just different. I mean, it's I think it'll keep me young in the long run. I'm going into my 14th year pro. I think 14th year. Yeah, this year.
Unbelievable, huh? 14 years.
Yeah.
Like, probably, where the fuck is the time
I
gone?
know,
Right?
and it feels like yesterday we were talking about Traverse City. That was 14 years ago, and the World Juniors was 15 years ago, and I still have feels like it was last weekend. So, yeah, it's been good. It's been tough, but at the same time, it's a good experience, it's a new experience, and I'm hoping to make the best out of it. That's for sure.
Absolutely, and we wish you well with your season up ahead in Pilsen. And like I say, with all of our guests, I'm always keeping an eye on how they're doing. I'm honestly wishing them well. Everyone we've had on the show, like we've had, and I'm trying to think of all the people we've had that are still playing in Europe right now. I'm thinking of Stefan Fournier's been on our show. Brandon DeFazio's been on our show. Chad Naring's been on our show. They're still playing in Europe right now. Charlie Sereau was on our show. He's playing still over in Europe, and there's a bunch of others too. I mean, it's Ray Bryce, of course, our good friend on the show. He's playing over in Hungary now, over there. So I'm always keeping an eye on how all these people that have been on our show in the past are doing during their season over in Europe. And obviously hoping their seasons are a success. Speaking of seasons that teams are hoping to have as a success, who's going to have the success this year in the NHL as we transition to a little NHL talk? And as we've done with every guest here on our Players Suite summer series of shows here, we're going to bring up the futures odds board. Here we go, courtesy of Bet365. Here it is, Stanley Cup futures. And as I've talked about with every guest we've had with us this summer, I still can't figure out how the Leafs are the betting favorite right now. As if 57 years of failure is not enough to show that they have been incapable to get over the hump and even get close to winning a Stanley Cup, let alone winning one. I mean, they've won one playoff round now in 20 years. Plus 800, though, somehow they still are the betting favorite. Colorado plus 850, Edmonton plus 900. The Devils, Hurricanes, the defending champions, the Vegas Golden Knights, New York Rangers, Bruins in that 10 to 15 to 1 range, along with the Lightning. You got the Stars, the Kings, and the Panthers, 17, 18 to 1. And then there's a drop-off after that, a sizable one to the next group. Pittsburgh, 28 to 1. Minnesota, Calgary, 30 to 1. Buffalo, 33 to 1. I did sprinkle on that. Again, I like the playoff bet more with Buffalo to make the playoffs. I think Stanley Cup's a little ambitious, but nevertheless, I do think they'll be improved. The one that stuck out to me, Luke, the Seattle Kraken. How is this team priced at plus 3,500, 35 to 1 to win the Stanley Cup when they were one win away from the conference finals a season ago? They lost in Game 7 against Dallas in the second round, and yet they're 35 to 1. We've got teams like Calgary that didn't even make the playoffs last year, and Ottawa ahead. And I think Ottawa could be decent, but ahead of Seattle to win the Stanley Cup next year. I thought that was disrespectful a little bit to the Kraken, and it's because there's no superstars on the team. But they got a great speed team. All 4 lines can skate. They're very responsible defensively. Great two-way players on each line. The defense is good enough. They've got a combination of physicality with your Alexiaks, and of course, you've got your guys that can skate. And Vince Dunn had a breakout season on the blue line for Seattle, and Philip Grubauer in net had a bounce-back season in net for them. That was the one that stood out to me like a sore thumb in terms of just pure value and being undervalued, and that was Seattle. You go on, you got Winnipeg 40, Islanders 50 to 1, Predators 50 to 1, and then you've got the 50 to 1 Detroit St. Louis as well, Vancouver 55 to 1, and then you've got the bottom teams there, Washington, Columbus, Chicago, Philly, Montreal, Arizona, San Jose, Anaheim. What stands out to you, Luke? And you look at this board and your early thoughts right now for next season and legit Stanley Cup contenders.
Yeah, it's I'm looking at these odds now. So I'm a guy that when the season ends, I try to get into futures every year. So This year I got the Kings at 20 plus 2,300 as soon as the season ended. So
Great price. Really
yeah,
good price.
I
Good
just
find.
I thought they were there. I mean, they're in such a tough division.
You've been around the block, I can tell. You know the value of line shopping, I can tell.
Yeah, that's you just see. I mean, that's a good value now when you see they made that Dubois trade, which I think should help them. They had to give up some depth, but they must think they have that coming up. But yeah, and then my other bet, I got Edmonton at plus 1,100 at the same time. So those are my two this year that I put in before. Looking at it now, I still do like the Kings. I just think the West is so tight, so tough. And I think that's kind of where we talk about Seattle, why they're so low. I think they're just like they're in that mix of, they got to beat Colorado, they got to beat Edmonton, they got to beat LA, they got to beat Dallas, they got to beat, like that's their division. Like that conference in general, the division is tough. So yeah, last year I liked Calgary going into the season, and they just had such a disappointing year. They've kind of got rid of some big pieces this year, so I don't.
And I'm with you, Luke. I thought they were going to be good last year, Calgary.
Yeah.
I think we all underestimated the rift that was going on with Sutter and the team and the players, because clearly things didn't jive. There were those incidents during the year where he kind of, I don't want to say embarrassed, what's his name, Jacob Peltier, the kid, but they kind of shunned his debut and didn't make a big deal of it, made it pretend like he couldn't give two shits about it, when he said, oh, what's the guy's name again? How many minutes, and then, of course, he did. And him and Huberdeau never clicked. And then he had the classic quote was Huberdeau left for the bench area during the game. He said, I think he had to go take a shit. He ended up saying that about Huberdeau during that. I mean, you could just tell it was not exactly a chemistry-laden dressing room situation there.
Yeah, no kidding. I do like Carolina. I think they're due to win. That's a team that I can't get on board with the Leafs. Winning. I don't. Colorado
certainly not as the favorite. The favorite to win the cup. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Colorado. I mean, I think Edmonton's got to be close too. No, like you got two of the best players in the world. I like Jersey, but are they experienced enough yet in the playoffs? Rangers, I'm not too high on. I think Boston's way too high. I like Pittsburgh.
I agree,
even more than Boston, especially in that division. I
actually agree with you there, and I'm not high on Pittsburgh, but I just think I would rather take Pittsburgh 28-1 than Boston 15-1.
Yeah, I do too. I think that's just what it is. It's so hard. It's tough to. I find hockey in general is tough to, have those long shots. Basketball maybe a little bit easier to see before the season and kind of get a good chance. Whereas hockey, I mean, you look at Edmonton, I mean, they lose one of those two guys, they're done right away. So you never know what's going to happen, but it makes for fun watching. That's for sure.
I like that they signed on the cheap for a chance that he stays healthy finally. He's got chemistry with Connor McDavid because they played together in junior with the Erie Otters. Connor Brown. I actually like that they brought Connor Brown in, the Edmonton Oilers. He can skate. The thing with Connor Brown, it's been all dash and no finish for him.
Yeah.
He's just such a great skater, and they've said it for years, and we've seen it play out this way, Luke, for years, that, he doesn't seem to score and produce offensively at the level that he should, considering how gifted a skater he is. And that's been the thing that's kind of been hanging over his head all these years.
Yeah, I think Edmonton's there. If they get the goaltending, if Skinner's as good as he was last year, if Campbell has that
Skinner, hopefully he is. Yeah,
bounce back season. They're just so they're so offensively gifted. It'll be. I hope they do well. I'd like to see McDavid win, to be honest. He's one of those players I'd like to see win. I'd also like to see Matthews win too. So I got a lot of buddies back home in Newfoundland. They're all either Leafs or Habs fans. So I'm pulling for them. One of those fan bases to get something done.
I find that the maritime provinces like New Brunswick and Nova Scotia are more Hab fans, and Newfoundland is just predominantly more Leaf fans. Am I right?
Yeah, I would say 75% of my buddies are Leafs fans and probably 25. But I mean, these guys are diehards too. I feel bad for them. We got a good group chat with all my buddies at home, 15, 17 guys or something in there. And you know how the hockey game went the night before when I wake up and there's 200 text messages in the chat. So they're watching every game, and I think the Leafs are close. I mean, I tell myself that, but I hope so. I'd like to see them do well, honestly.
There's no doubt. And of course, Newfoundland too. We got Bob Cole, legendary broadcaster for Newfoundland for Hockey Night Canada. And I don't want to gloss over another great voice of Newfoundland hockey, Brian Rogers. People may not be as familiar with him, but this guy, man, he's been around. He was around forever doing St. John Maple Leafs hockey and any team that was in St. John's, Ice Caps, and he was around as the play-by-play guy. And he had a great voice for broadcasting, but he doesn't get enough credit and enough adulation. Bob Cole, obviously, rightfully so, but Brian Rogers deserves some love too.
Right, absolutely. Raj, I still see him in the summers, and he went from the Leafs, like you said, he was doing the Fog Devils stuff with us, and then he went to the Ice Caps, and now he's a marshal at the golf course. So I still run into him. It's good to see him. He's a good man.
Yeah, they've got but the young kid that's taken over in St. John's the last few years is pretty good. He's probably going to do that for a long time, as long as he wants to be there. So definitely great play-by-play voices, believe it or not, from your home province there in Newfoundland. So I'll just recap what I've previously mentioned. Edmonton, I'm interested in. I kind of prefer New Jersey than Carolina, simply because I love the top. Like, Luke, let's be real with New Jersey, the top 9 and even all 4 lines. Who's going to match that as far as scoring and in terms of depth? That's absolutely sick what New Jersey has. Bratt, Hughes, Toffoli, who they get from Calgary. Timo Meier signs long-term. Nico Hischier, Dawson Mercer. Let's not sleep on him, another Newfoundlander. What a breakout season it was for Dawson Mercer last year for New Jersey. Palat, Howla, Alexander Holtz, a first-round pick, and their 4th line is Bastian, Mikey McLeod, and Tomas Nosek, who they get from Boston. I mean, look at that, 4 lines. That's incredible. It's all about the D, and can Akira Schmid be steady and good?
I think that's it too. I think the experience is. I just don't know if they can put it together for a full playoff. I mean, they won that round last year, though. I think that will help those young guys quite a bit. But maybe they need one more year, I think. But they got a lot of good pieces there. And I don't know if they got the goalie. I just think Carolina has been so close for so long. It's kind of like one of those Toronto teams for me. They got the experience. They've been good. They've been close. They just need to get over that hump. That's kind of why I lean towards them, just a little bit more experience.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And, of course, like I said, Seattle earlier. Like I said, Pittsburgh. What do you think of? Here's the thing with Pittsburgh, and we'll bring. That's basically been one of the big off-season, deals of the summer. Was obviously Erik Karlsson for the traded by San Jose to Pittsburgh. We knew it was going to happen. It finally did. And the question is going to be, though, Luke. I mean, he's going to help them offensively, no doubt. We saw a 100-point producer from the blue line, goes without saying. But where's the defensive? Like, you want to win a Stanley Cup, you got to be like a Vegas in terms of the blueprint, Luke. I think their blueprint is clear. You got to have 4 strong lines that can all be solid for you and not hurt you and be good at both ends of the ice. Vegas had that with each and every line. Each and every line could make an impact, right, for Vegas. Mm-hmm. All 4 lines. Their D1 through 6 as good and strong, especially in their own end, as anybody's last year. You could match Vegas defensively with 1 through 6 on the blue line with anybody. Pietrangelo, McNabb, Theodore, Martinez, Hague, Whitecloud. Hague and Whitecloud, I said it over and over again, Luke, they were the best 3rd pair in hockey last year on the blue line for Vegas. When I look at Pittsburgh, I see a lot of defensive holes. I see guys that can lug the puck and do that kind of thing and command a power play like Erik Karlsson, Chris Letang, although his defensive game slipped a bit. But then you got Ryan Graves, I like, but is he ready to be a top pair defenseman? They might ask that of him this season after Brian Dumoulin left. And then you got Pettersson's probably one of the better, sturdier shutdown defensemen they've got. But outside of that, Letang is more offensive than defense. So Karlsson's certainly that way. Is Graves a young guy ready for number 1 pair? Pierre-Olivier Joseph and Chad Ruhwedel's okay, but it's not a spectacular 3rd pair. that's where the questions are. And then in net, you got Jari, who's inconsistent, and Nedeljkovic, who, other than when he was with Carolina, Luke, and he had a great team and blue line and defense in front of him, he struggled in Detroit when he went there with the Red Wings, Nedeljkovic. So the goaltending is a question mark. They're going to be probably able to score goals because you bring in a Carlson to help the power play and your 5-on-5 offense. And obviously you still have Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Jake Gensel, Brian Rust. Ricard Raquel's been very good offensively for Pittsburgh since they got him. And, of course, you bring in Riley Smith, which was a nice move, actually, by Kyle Dubas, getting him from the Vegas Golden Knights. So I don't question the offense. I don't question the ability to score goals, but I don't know if the blue line is that shutdown blue line that you need like a Vegas had last year to win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it looks a lot like a Dubas team when you put it like that. You look at those Leafs teams past years, and I do like the Riley Smith pickup. I think he was great for Vegas in the playoffs. That's like when I get to see most of my NHL hockey. I don't get to watch a whole lot of NHL throughout the year just because the time change. I mean, there's rarely am I staying up, to watch a game at 1 a.m. or something like that. I see the highlights and stuff like that, but in the playoffs, you get to see a lot. I was able to go up to Vegas, actually seeing a game in the conference finals against Dallas. That was fun. First time I'd been in that arena. And I just think Smith was a big piece of that team. Like you said, that was a deep team, man. And they'll be good again. I think they've that's a team that honestly they have a chance to, I think they can repeat. That's a team that's going to be right there again.
All right. Well, I'll ask you, just throw it at you. Who's going to be the worst team in the NHL this season, in your opinion?
Worst team. I hate to say it, but could be my buddies, Montreal Canadiens. I'm not too large on them. I think they're just so young, and probably my best friend in the whole
tough
league.
division too, that Atlantic.
Yeah, my best friend in the league right now is probably Jake Allen, and he's the goalie. So poor guy, he gets hung out to dry a little bit there with that young group they got. But you know what? I think they like St. Louis, and I wouldn't say, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think they'll finish last. I think there's some other teams that have. But you never know. You got these teams in rebuilds, right? Like you got Anaheim. Like, how are they going to be this year? You got Montreal. How are they going to be? Phoenix. Like, how are they going to be? Like, it's just you got these question marks. San Jose. How are they going to be? There's just teams that are kind of young, trying to figure out what direction they're going. You get a couple of those young kids take off, and all of a sudden you're not at the bottom, and you're in that 20 to 22 slot. So. It'll be interesting. I think the bottom of the league is injury related. It's going to be one of the teams probably that I mentioned, but what team is going to take the next step, and what team is just going to kind of hover there and struggle.
I'll give you my answer: San Jose Sharks, and I don't think it's close. I honestly don't, because I think Anaheim might be a little better. I actually think Montreal will be a little bit better.
Yeah, I think all those teams will be a little bit better for sure.
San Jose is the one for me. I mean, Barabanov, Logan Couture's offensive game really started to decline last year, and Cunnin is expected to be their top line. That's not a number one line to me. I know they bring in Mike Hoffman, and they from Montreal, but he had a brutal year last year, really tough year. Anthony Duclair as well, but Anthony Duclair, as my colleague on this show, Alex B. Smith, often says, he doesn't show up for a regular season usually. He was all right in the playoffs, but the regular season, he's had a tough time. So I don't know how much of an impact he's going to make. Michael Granlund, he did absolutely nothing with Pittsburgh last year. He was non-existent. You couldn't find him with a telescope on the ice last season for the Penguins, and they bring him in the Carlson deal. I don't know if that makes them significantly better. And the blue line is, a lot of players that are going to have to play big minutes that can't anymore, including Vlasic. Vlasic is not, he's long in the tooth now. He's had a great career. He's been so steady, but, we saw some defensive blunders from him last year. So, and then the goaltending might be the worst in the league, the duo combined. Kaapo Kahkonen, who was Kaka a lot of last year, and Mackenzie Blackwood, who, as I've said over and over again, you get a bad game, poor game, injured, bad game, mediocre game, bad game, injured again. That's been the pattern in his career, Mackenzie Blackwood. So that's a tough tandem to have in net. So to me, by default, it's San Jose. I think they're going to be dead last. And I think Arizona is going to be even better as well. Coyotes, because they worked their ass off last year under Andre Tourigny, and they got to be even a little bit better. They brought in some veterans, right? Kerfoot from Toronto, Jason Zucker from Pittsburgh, players that have had pretty good seasons.
They got some good young players there too. It's I'm always following the Phoenix teams, obviously living there in the off season. And
Matthias Maccelli, he's going to be good. Clayton Keller, Nick Schmaltz, Barrett Hayton, Logan Cooley. Watch out for him.
Yeah, Cooley is who I'm thinking of. And Keller's an unreal player. Schmaltz is still there. They got some good players. They just need to. And then Andre Tourigny, the coach, they just extended him, so the guys must like him. And yeah, I'm hoping that they do better too. That's what I mean. It's those young teams, you got them, Anaheim, Montreal. Which one of those teams is going to make the step? Ottawa, who's going to make the step now up?
Yeah, I'm confident Arizona won't be the worst team in the league. I actually think, and again, they were a tough out at times last year. And Andre Tourigny didn't have half of what he has to work with this year going into the season. So he's deserving of that extension. He had the team playing really hard much of last year. They pulled some upsets. They were in games. So, I think at Arizona, the defense still, although I do like that they bring in Sean Dursey from LA, but, the blue line's still a little questionable, but, I still think that roster top to bottom is looking better going into this year than it was last year. There you go. And Toronto with them. I think they're going to be back to their scoring ways and defensively because they bring in Max Domi and Tyler Bertuzzi, two terrific additions to score those goals they never scored, Luke, which is the tough goals in the crease area, in the slot area, right in front of the net. Guys that'll take a pounding to score goals. They will. Bertuzzi will. Domi will. And they still have Matthews, Marner, and presumably Nylander. I don't think he's going to get traded before the season, even though he's entering the season on an expiring contract. But the blue line, you've got obviously Luke Schenn, a hard-nosed defenseman, gone. You replace him with Klingberg, who, more of an offensive than a defensive type of player on the blue line. So I think their blue line might actually be a little weaker defensively. But again, Klingberg, can he have a bounce back year? They'll be back to their games where I think you're going to see Toronto having to win games 5-4 again.
Yeah, I think they're so offensively gifted. There's so many great players there. You mentioned Matthews, Marner, Nylander. Those guys are superstars, all three of them. They add the Bertuzzi and Domi. Got Tavares still there. He can still play. Scored big goals for him in the playoffs. Add Klingberg. They're offensive for sure. The question mark always in Toronto is going to be the goaltending and the defensive side of the puck. So I hope they do well. Like I said, I pull for the Leafs just out of faith for my buddies. And I'd say they're probably my Canadian team. I was always a Red Wing fan growing up, obviously with my dad being from Windsor. But, I hope they do well. I think they're running out of time here. So it's, it's now or never type of thing.
We don't know what this core is going to look like next year. So it'll be interesting to see what they can bring this year. And let's see how the Samsonov, presumably Joseph Wall tandem goes for them. We got to talk a little NFL before we wrap things up, Luke, because you're a big NFL guy, as am I. I know I sent out my NFL season win totals report and futures report many weeks ago. I know you got a copy of that to your email. So you already know what I'm kind of liking with some of these teams. But here's the Super Bowl futures board right now as it currently stands. KC, defending champs, the favorites, plus 600. The team they beat in the Super Bowl, the Philadelphia Eagles, plus 800. Buffalo Bills, man, plus 850, the third favorite. And no, they couldn't take enough Bills bets last year to win the Super Bowl. And of course they ended up falling short. Now everybody's questioning this team where, Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, are they going to coexist? Are they going to be able to have a better offensive line this year? Are they going to be able to run the football more? Is the defense, going to stay healthy? Because they had so many injuries on defense last year, Buffalo. So now everybody's kind of off the Bills bandwagon. This actually might be the time to actually bet, to win the Super Bowl at a better price. Niners, as the Brock Purdy era begins, plus 900. Although they do have O-line concerns entering the season. Make sure you're aware of that. This O-line had a lot of changes from last season, so keep an eye on that for San Francisco. Cincinnati, 11-1. The New York Jets are all the way up to 14-1. People drinking the Aaron Rodgers Kool-Aid there, although that roster, especially on defense, looks really, really good. Will the offense be able to do enough for them? Dallas 14, Baltimore 18-1. People liking Lamar Jackson, the new look offense. They're going to be throwing the ball a bit more, see if Lamar can be that pocket passer in addition to the great ability to run with it. A lot of people high on Detroit and Dan Campbell's squad 22-1, Miami 22-1, Chargers and Jaguars in the 25-28-1 range. What are you liking here, Luke? Some of these teams, who are you high on? Who are you looking to fade maybe in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see the Bills do well, like you mentioned. Just looking at these odds, I'm a Lions fan. Detroit brainwashed through and through. Detroit sports fan right through, but I'm not as high as most people have them. I mean, everyone has them winning the division, and I still think that Chicago and Minnesota are going to be. And even Green Bay losing, that division's always tough. They're Minnesota. I mean, last year we were 12-5, or they just don't disappear. They still have a lot of the same guys there. Best receiver in the league, a quarterback that's shown consistency, and I just don't think the Lions are going to be able to run away like people are thinking they are with that division, or they're pretty high. I actually like the Chargers at 25-1. I think you look at the big pieces they have. Eckler at running back and Herbert at quarterback. They got a couple good wide receiver weapons there, and that's a team that I think can do better than 25-1. I kind of like that odds as a kind of a flyer. As a team to potentially do well.
I am going even, and I like that. That's actually one of the futures. I've been on the Chargers every recent year because I love the roster. Mm-hmm. Brandon Staley just, don't do something crazy. I mean, his coaching and the fourth down gambles so many times, it bothers me. Just try to be measured with your decisions. I don't mind going for it on fourth down, but every time it got to the point where it was ridiculous. Time, score, and situation should be what leads to the decisions to go for it or not on fourth down. But too many times it was just early in the game, and there he is, 4th and 2 on his own 40. He's going for it. I mean, you don't need to, at that time of the game. But no, I like the roster still. Again, if they have Justin Herbert and they have the receiving core healthy and Eckler in the running back spot, and don't forget how good the O-line was. Then Rashawn Slater got injured last year, and so many of those key linemen got hurt. I still think their roster is right up there. They're better than a 25-1 roster.
Yeah, I just see that and see some of the other, I like them better than Miami right away, 22-1. I like them better than the Lions, even though I'm a Lions fan. Just when I'm thinking of the Super Bowl, they might end up with the same record, but I just think they got those pieces. A lot of people are high on Denver right now. I was watching some the other day, and they got Denver, 11-5.
Not me. Even with Peyton.
Either. I mean, I think them winning their last exhibition game, they're friggin' 45-0 or whatever it was, had people all excited. But I mean, seriously, yeah. I'm interested to see how Seattle will do this year. New Orleans, those are both teams that are intriguing to me. Just kind of got some pieces there, but can they put it together? Dallas, always a team. I think they're loaded on offense, loaded on defense, but it's the Cowboys, and there's a lot of pressure there. So can they put it together? It's kind of the Leafs of the NFL right now. So I'm hoping they do well too.
So last year, I had a longer shot Super Bowl future, and it was the Philadelphia Eagles, because nobody thought the Eagles were going to be that good last year. A lot of people like them to be better, but not necessarily be in the Super Bowl and win the NFC. But they were, they were that good last year, and they got to the Super Bowl for me, and I was at least able to hedge out a portion of that bet. And I actually had them to win the NFC as well, 22-1 to win the NFC. It was an excellent price. So that was the big casher for me in the futures market last year. If I'm going to make a bold statement, I don't mind Luke's opinion there with the Chargers. I think at 20, if you're looking for a longer shot Super Bowl participant for me, I don't mind that. The Chargers, Jacksonville, even because they have such an easy division and they have Trevor Lawrence and they're in the 35-1 range. But I'm going to go even bigger than that.
Yeah.
This might be, and this is, I don't normally say I'm really high on a team to have a really good season and maybe even make the Super Bowl if things go their way when they're a 60-1, in that range to win the Super Bowl, although the price has changed quite a bit over the preseason because of how they've looked. Pittsburgh Steelers, who are now 40-1, and I get it, right? Everyone's talking about, well, Cincinnati and Burrow have been great the last few years in that AFC North. Baltimore with Lamar Jackson, a better offense this year. Cleveland, people still think that roster is loaded, even with questions with Deshaun Watson. And nobody's talking about Pittsburgh. What I've seen from Pittsburgh, now again, preseason, but even last year down the stretch, Kenny Pickett, he went on a run down the stretch last year. He played great. He's looked awesome here in the preseason. He's got legit weapons, Deontay Johnson, and this Pickett to Pickens is no fucking joke. People keep talking about that, but Pickett to Pickens is real. It's a chemistry, it's a connection that is real with Kenny Pickett and George Pickens right now. It's been spectacular. I think they're going to be able to run the football better because they shored up the offensive line. They had to. They didn't run the football well enough last year. I think Najee Harris now, as a result, is finally going to have a better year running the football. And this defense, I am concerned about the secondary. You got a 33-year-old Patrick Peterson there. You got some questions in the cornerback spot, but you still have Minkah Fitzpatrick at the safety spot. It's one of the better safeties in the NFL. And you've got as good a pass rush to help that secondary. Because if they stay healthy, Luke, and they stay on the field, how many better duo pass rushers are there on one team than what Pittsburgh has with TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith? That duo is outstanding. They can blow up the line of scrimmage. They can get pressure on opposing quarterbacks. I think they are being severely disrespected, and people are just writing them off in albeit a tough division with Cincinnati, with Baltimore, with Cleveland. I get it. But people are just writing this team off right away. I ain't doing that. In fact, I think they can hang with Baltimore, Cleveland, and even Cincy, as long as they don't suffer too many injuries, because I think they got the pass rush with Watt and Highsmith. The quarterback is getting exceptionally better. He's got weapons. They're going to be able to run the football more because they upgraded the O-line. I think there's a lot to like with Pittsburgh. Oh, and Mike Tomlin's never had a losing regular season, even with some weaker Pittsburgh teams than this one. So I think people are underestimating Pittsburgh and not giving them a fair shake in that division, even if it's a tough division.
Yeah, that's definitely a good pick. I like that actually. Now the more that you're talking about it, and it is a tough division when you think about it with Baltimore and Cincy. No one's really talking about Cincy this year really right now yet. You're hearing a lot about Kansas City, Buffalo. But you look at, like you said, their defense. You look last year, San Francisco. I still like San Francisco this year solely because of their defense. I know they're probably, they're a good favorite, but they're definitely a team that I don't think they have the offense like some of these other teams, but at the same time, the defense kind of wins in those important games.
Not the best price with this prop market here, worst regular season record, but I'm on record. It's Arizona. They're the favorite for a reason.
Yeah.
There's no team worse in the NFL on paper than them this year. And they're already suffering injuries in camp. You got a first-year head coach, Jonathan Gannon, first-year offensive coordinator, first-year defensive coordinator. These guys have never called plays before either, the OC or the DC. And the new coach, paper thin on talent. Kyler Murray ain't ready to start the year. And now Colt McCoy, apparently is dealing with an injury. This is hands down to me the worst team in the NFL on paper going into the season. So even at plus 210, it's still a good price. You put $100 down, you win 210,
right,
if it catches. So I still like it at that price, even though they're the obvious favorite.
Yeah, I think so too. If you want to take a couple flyers, I'm real low on the Bucks and the Rams this year too. I mean, you want to try to get a little bit more value. Tampa's got some injuries coming out too the last few days. I just not a big fan of their team this season. LA, I think, is on a major downswing. I think Houston's actually gonna be better. So
I agree with you. I got them over their win total, Luke. I do. Houston Texans. I'm buying into the energy that DeMeco Ryans is going to bring here.
And I like the running back there. I think Pierce is good, and hopefully the young guy that they just drafted, quarterback's going to be fine. But I don't think they're going to be the second worst team. Like I said, I got those other teams below them. Especially I look now, and you got the Rams and Washington with the same odds. I think Washington's going to be better than people think they're going to be too. So, I don't think they're going to win, but I don't think they're going to be last place.
I'm starting to think that too. And I didn't have a very high opinion of Washington coming into this season, but I see what they've got on defense. Can Chase Young be healthy? Jonathan Allen, they got a good defensive line. Deron Payne, they got some guys that can play on that defensive front as well. A receiver, look, Terry McLaurin's excellent. Now, I know he got hurt in preseason. He's questionable for week 1, but still, he's a big weapon. And they've got, a couple of weapons now. And Sam Howell at quarterback.
I like him. Nice running backs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And when you look at it, Washington might be a little better than I initially thought. I didn't bet their win total. I'm with you on Tampa. I bet Tampa under their win total. I bet even at 4.5, I bet Arizona under their win total. I just don't see Arizona winning 5 games, and I was able to get under 4.5 wins with them. And like I say, I love the plus 210 for them to have the worst record. And one more. Now, I don't bet. And would you be interested in betting season-long player props? I've tried doing that the last 2 years, but it's such a risk because one injury, especially if you like over rushing yards or receiving yards or passing yards for the season, and they could be out. I'm more often than not avoiding that market, the season-long player props. How about you?
Yeah, I'm a in-game player prop type better, but season, not really. It's just like you said. There's too many variables. You get one injury or a guy. You never know what's going to happen. The team struggles and they try to go younger with a guy, and it's. I'm sure you can get some good payouts because they're tougher to hit, but that's not my style.
No, I would. Yeah, I think definitely there's some. I agree to that. Just a lot of risk. Best regular season record. I didn't like the best regular season record market nearly as much, but I did grab a little Philly at plus 650 just because they're in a weak NFC. They're going to be able to, probably roll through many of their opponents this year based on their schedule. So I did take a little Philadelphia for the best regular season record. And I did sprinkle on that team I was just talking up a few minutes ago, Pittsburgh, even at 35-1. Yeah, a little shot in the dark maybe for them to actually have the best regular season record. But like I said, I am higher than the markets on the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I like Jacksonville too, just because of the division. I think they're going to walk away with that division.
Solid call.
Plus 1,500. When you think of regular season records, just try to think of weaker divisions. You look at baseball right now, and you got all the best teams in one division. Sometimes it's weird how it works out, but you think. I would think that a team like that, even the Cowboys, in that other division, but they got Philly. So who's going to win those games? And then I like that team, for best regular season record, because I don't think the other teams, I think they're going to both be good clubs. And it's football seasons. It's exciting. And I find it so hard to predict. I find NFL, for me personally, just hard to bet on in general.
Well, I got to admit, and it's not me trying to boast or brag or pump my chest here, but it's been actually very good for me the last few years.
I'll hop on board with you then.
There we go. That's where hopefully yours truly can come on in and help you out a little bit this season. Now, look, when I started betting NFL, and I was an amateur bettor, when I was just in the first couple of years getting into it, like I've now been doing this for 12 years, pretty much 13. I wasn't great at the NFL. I thought it was a struggle. I found it difficult. I found it hard. And look, you're going to have your ups and downs. And even today I have ups and downs, but I've been managed to string together consecutive winning profitable seasons, in the NFL. And it's because of the extreme and improved preparation I've put in to the
Right.
NFL before each season, where I know these teams inside and out, personnel, coaching changes, rosters. You have an idea, okay, how good is this defensive line? How good is this secondary? How good is this running back? How good is this O-line? You make your own evaluations, and it's helped me a lot in recent years. So, yeah, I'm here to help, my friend, when it comes to the NFL. I'm here to help. Awesome show at Luke. We'll wrap things up. Great stuff. We certainly wish you well with the Pilsen squad over in Czechia this season. And maybe we'll get you on the show some point during the NHL season as well. Because you said it's just you over there right now. So we'll get you back on at some point.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, and it was a lot of fun to talk some sports.
Yeah, no doubt. And there is Luke Adam, our most recent guest here on the Ice Guys Players Suite. Luke, well, thank you for your time. And again, thanks again. And we'll get you back on later this season. That's another edition of the Ice Guys Players Suite. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the like button. And we appreciate you being a Patreon Ice Guys member. We've got a few more interviews still to come for the Ice Guys Players Suite. For our special guest, Luke Adam, I'm Ian Cameron. This has been another edition of the Ice Guys Players Suite. And we will see you again next time.